Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone today to our November 21st meeting, our first meeting of our Lincoln County Carbon Dioxide Transport and Storage Advisory Committee. My name is Jim Gibbon. I am Commissioner, Lincoln County Commissioner for District 2. And I'd like to thank these people up here with me for volunteering to be part of this committee. And thank you very much. We have quite a task at hand. I appreciate everyone and their particular efforts. With that being said, I'd like them to introduce themselves first, to make sure that those of you in attendance know who they are, and also those of you that might be following online. So we'll start on this side of the room, please.
My name is Anthony Ventura. I live 10 miles south of Canton, South Dakota.
Marlene Sweeter, and I am on Planning and Zoning District.
Mark Nordsey, I'm a citizen, live in Lincoln County.
Jim Gibbon, Lincoln County Commissioner.
Eric Scott, Planning Commission, at-large member.
Carla Lems, resident of Lincoln County, also representative for District 16.
David Anderson, farmer in southern Lincoln County.
And the last county commissioner that is on is Commissioner Joel Ahrens. Joel, are you with us? I know he had a conflict today with his work, so he is also part of this committee as well. As you can see, first of all, I'd like to go over today, I guess, some of the ground rules that I feel that are necessary. And again, I think today's meeting will probably be more of an organizational meeting, more so than anything else. So I know that we have an agenda in front of us. I guess I would like, if you had a chance to look at it, to have a motion to approve the agenda. And maybe before I go on, of the introductions that we just had, I think you have to realize that the voting members of this quorum would be myself, Commissioner Ahrens, Eric Scott, Marlene Sweeter, Mark Norsday, Anthony Ventura, and Dave Anderson are the voting members, and the non-voting members, they were providing us input, are Carla Lems and Adam Wirt. So I just want that clear to begin with. With that being said, I guess we'll move forward here. And like I said, we're kind of going over some of the ground rules, which I think are important to set aside as we begin this process. Number one, I guess, let's get an approval of the agenda.
Move approval?
Second that, Scott.
Okay, I have a motion by Mark and a second by Eric. Will you read the agenda, or excuse me, read the roll, please, the approval?
Absolutely. Anthony Ventura.
Yes.
Mark Nordsey.
Yes.
David Anderson.
Yes.
Eric Scott.
Yes.
Marlene Sweeter.
Yes.
Jim Gibbon.
All right, thank you. Motion carried. Next, as far as some of the ground rules and so on, and for the meetings and so on, I'm hoping that we can meet each Tuesday, setting forth here at approximately 9:30, and I know we'll have an opportunity on item number 4 to talk about some of the subcommittees and, or excuse me, item number 3 as far as the meeting dates and times and so forth. But I'm kind of anticipating that we will meet probably in the area of 60 to 90 minutes as the work continues here in the future, and we'll go over those dates and so on and as well here in our future items. With that being said, I guess one of the things that we talked about was that a majority of the committee will be the ruling body here, a majority vote. And I guess the other things that maybe that we need to remind the committee up here is that since we are a committee giving a recommendation, that we can really have no more than 3 people at one particular time, talking about some of these things to make sure that we're not violating the open meeting rule and so on and so forth. So we want to make sure that in making decisions that we do have a quorum, and at the same time to make sure that we're I guess not more than 3 people at one time at a certain place at a certain time discussing some of these issues. With that being said, I guess I will move on to the next item on our agenda, and that being statement of conflicts of interest. I guess if there's anyone that particularly has a conflict of interest that's on this board, and so on and so forth, it might be the time that you express and maybe remove yourself or tell us more of your involvement so that there isn't a conflict of interest of some type.
Are we able to ask questions?
Pardon?
Are we able to ask questions?
Yes.
Okay. Poet and Navigator were working on building a pipeline together. Have they disclosed all that information publicly? And is this a conflict of interest because Poet potentially could make money, which means he could potentially make money, which is a money-making opportunity? Joel Ahrens, in his last push for his setback, in his comments in the newspaper, said, "We settled for a 500-foot setback from habited props, as well as a 1-mile setback from municipalities, regardless of size," Ahrens says. The question is who's we? 4 commissioners, 5 commissioners, Toby Brown, state's attorney, and then did Joel Ahrens work as a state's attorney and a county commissioner? Is that also another conflict that needs to be talked about? And since he's not here, it's kind of hard to have that discussion. So I think we need to have a further discussion on that.
I don't think we can move forward with that without him being here. Some of your other comments, I can't speak for.
Well, I think anything that has a potential way of making money in a project to change the laws is a conflict. And so that needs to be a recusal or just a flat out, we're going to leave this board entirely.
Drew, do you have a comment on that? This is our Assistant State's Attorney, Drew.
I can't speak to Mr. Ahrens. He's not here right now, so I can't speak to what his conflict of interest would be. I don't know that. As far as Mr. Wirt, he's a non-voting member, so he won't be having a vote on this. It's input strictly, so there would be no conflict of interest there because he has no vote.
So should we just say on the record that potentially Poet could be a way to make money, and so that would be a consideration of making these rules then?
I guess you just said it on the record
Thank you.
already, but he is a non-voting member.
I think we have to keep in mind that we are a legislative body, that we're working together as a committee to come together to form an ordinance for carbon dioxide pipelines in this county. And that's the gist of it, and whatever that might be. I guess, are there any other comments of this committee?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would just remind the group that we are simply a committee. Our action has no force, enforcement, or act of law whatsoever. We only are a committee making an advisory opinion to those people that do make the laws in this county.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just want to clarify on number 1, with the ground rules of the meeting, that we state I'm assuming we're using Robert's Rules of Order to administer things, is that?
Correct.
Okay.
And we will discuss some of those things on our item number 3 when we talk about meeting dates and times and so forth as well. All right. With that being said, we'll move on then to, item number 3, which is the discussion of future meeting dates and times. I know that particularly we looked at Tuesdays, some of the Tuesdays that our administrative assistant and I talked about. We talked about today's date, and then also on November 28th, December 5th, December 12th, and December 19th. Those are all Tuesdays at 9:30. We tentatively put down as dates that we could meet, and then with a final report coming to the commission on December 26th. Again, these are recommendations. I guess we'll give an opportunity for the public to make comments for non-agenda items like we usually do on regular commission meeting dates. And I think that we're trying to complete this report within 60 days, and by December 26th, we're doing that, our 60 days, which the commission assigned us to do. Again, we have some work ahead of us, but I guess part of this might be to complete our work, we might have to also have some subcommittees that work outside of the actual meeting dates. I guess also there might be some evening work as well, but those are some of the suggestions that we have come forward with. I guess I'm ready for some input on this committee as well, if there's some others that you feel are necessary.
If we meet at 9:30, will we be meeting when commission meetings are going on?
Yes, and no, we won't be meeting with that. As soon as the commission meetings are over, we will begin then. So I guess we put 9:30 down because we, generally speaking, lots of times in a 1 hour time frame, we are complete. There might be some times, obviously, when the starting time will be 9:45 or it could be 10 o'clock, but we won't start before 9:30. Any other questions?
Do you give any consideration to having an evening meeting at some point for the people that aren't able to attend the morning?
I think that's something that we can definitely arrange if we feel it's necessary. Do you want to wait and see how we're coming with our work at that time, or do you want to specifically set aside a date now where we'd like to have a meeting with the input?
I think the last one before, it'd be my opinion that the last meeting before it's presented to the county commission, that be an evening meeting, to give everybody the opportunity, to comment and be here and be part of the process, I guess. I think that would be sufficient. So I don't know what that date is, what you have there.
The final date we're going to present to the commission is December 26th.
So
but at
what's the
same
one before
time,
that?
We can,
But what's the meeting before that, I guess? Or what would
was
the date be?
December 19th?
So I wonder if that one shouldn't be an evening meeting, just, towards the end.
Okay. Any other comments about the evening meetings?
I don't, I have one about subcommittees. I
Pardon?
think- I have one about subcommittees.
Okay,
and a
but-
concern.
Anything about evening meeting dates at this time first?
Okay.
So are we okay with moving that December 19th meeting to an evening meeting?
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. I will go ahead and we'll make that December 19th an evening meeting. Pardon?
6:30?
At 6:30, yes. And all the rest will stay at no sooner than 9:30 or excuse me, no later than 9:30, and we'll see how the commission meetings go those days and so on. Let's see, as far as any other meeting dates and times, any other comments from this committee? I know that, Mr. Ventura, you had one other comment about a subcommittee?
I think we need to be careful about breaking into too many zones or categories. If we're gonna talk about an ordinance, I think we just put it on the table, take a couple chapters at a time and do it right here. If you break it up into subcommittees, I don't know what the thinking of another discussion is, and we can drag this out for a long time, and I think it's just better to simplify the process and move along at a faster pace.
I guess I'm going to go ahead and move on then to number 4. When we talk about the formation of subcommittees and selection of members, do you want to see exactly what proposals are being presented first before we divide up into possible subcommittees, or is there something that needs to be addressed?
Chair,
Okay.
before you move on to item number 4, I wanted to just cover some housekeeping on future meetings and dates.
Yes.
Because we have open meetings, we do need to put everything on agendas. We have deadlines that would line up with what we do with the commission meetings. So any agenda items that any of the committee members have, if they could direct those via email to me, no later than end of business on Thursday. And then that way I can discuss that with the chair so that agenda can get
Yes, I
put
think
together
that's-
for the following meetings. And so any items that are going to be discussed by the committee do need to be on the agenda. So for the timing of all these things, if we could at least get any agenda items routed to me in advance, then we'll be able to put the agenda together.
Yes, I think that's a good idea, that if there are particular agenda items that need to be, that you'd like on the agenda, that you address them to Steve, and so that we can get them, if you can get them to him on a Thursday, so we can get them on the agenda, then that is sent out on Friday, so that when we meet on Tuesday, we all have the correct information and so forth. And that's something that we appreciate, and we can get it out to the public post-wise and so forth.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
would that include, Steve, would that include any handouts or anything too, just like a regular commission meeting?
So on the county website, under Government tab, then you go into to the Committees tab. There is now, for the Advisory Committee, a web page, landing page, where the public can set up an account and upload either information or comments for the committee's consideration, and those will be published on the website. So and that would include committee members. If there's certain things that they want the committee to consider, that would be the proper format, just for transparency, so that information's out there for the public to see.
and my understanding, Steve, is that we can also have the general public submit ideas and so on and so forth as well.
That's correct.
Okay, and that is posted on our county website, correct?
Yes, if you go onto the website under Government and then click on that, then you'll see Committees. Click on that and you'll get to this committee.
Okay.
And it'll
All right.
have its own landing page. And that's live now.
Okay. And again, the IT department is working on those things, and they should be in place if they aren't already right now, so on and so forth. Let's see, as far as any other items, as far as the subcommittees or selection of members and so on and so forth?
I guess
Go ahead.
yeah, the question I have, Mr. Chairman, is, so is this something that has already been somewhat discussed and decided on how that potentially will look? Or is it something that as we get into this, there's a potential for it, I guess? That's just some clarification on that.
I'm not sure if I know what your question is, but go ahead.
Well, I'm wondering, have you guys already had discussions on what these subcommittees will look like and who, and what categories they would be in?
That's completely up to the committee.
Okay.
This is nothing that's been predetermined. This is an agenda item
Yeah.
for the committee to determine how they want
Yeah.
this to be presented, if there's subcommittees at all. It's just an agenda item, so this is up for your
Well, and
discussion.
that's what I was gonna clarify, that, in my opinion, that if there is subcommittees, that has to come from this committee in a form of a motion and.
Correct.
and
Yes,
move
this
forward.
would have to be a formal motion if you
Yeah.
wanted to create subcommittees.
Okay, very good. So really, in my opinion, then, Mr. Chairman, agenda item number 4 is, I guess that just answered the question. I think as we move forward with the process, and if at any point on any topic, we decide that there should be a subcommittee on it, there'll be a main motion made and seconded, and we'll
Correct.
vote on it.
Yes, that's mine. And the same thing is true, I know that we went down here for executive session too. There may be times when this committee has to go into executive session, and I guess I hope that meets everyone's approval, that there are certain items sometimes that are brought up that we'll need to meet.
I think anything that anybody wants to bring forward should be for the public to see, except for what the attorney has to say. I think everything should be for the general public, nothing behind the scenes. So if somebody wants to bring something up and it's relevant, they can share it with the public just like they can share it with us, or don't bring it at all.
And I'll just piggyback off of what Mr. Rasmussen said. That is the intent of the website. So if anything's coming forward, it's for the general public to know. There's a transparency. I think talking to the chair, that's what he wanted, everything to be transparent with this committee and to be out in the open, so.
Okay, and yes, and transparency is important. I think we all agree to that particular issue as well. With that being said, I guess, are there any other items that need to be discussed at this informational and, I guess, organizational meeting at this particular time by members of this committee?
I'm good, Mr.
I think, that being said, this is, like I said, probably the beginning. Again, we have in place, I think, throughout the state, approximately 5 counties that have made rules and regulations in regard to carbon dioxide pipelines at this particular time. Again, as far as something that is in place, we really don't have anything in place in regard to carbon dioxide pipelines. Is it just pipelines in general, Steve, that we have something in place, or nothing at all at this particular time? Toby, maybe you have something.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so, yeah, you were correct in your statement that there is nothing in place in the A1 agricultural district for carbon
I'm
dioxide.
sorry, Toby, I didn't.
Am I reading? Sorry. Yes, you're correct, Mr. Chairman, that there is nothing in the ordinance specifically for carbon dioxide pipelines.
Okay, all right. All right, with that being said, I think we have, we will stick to the agenda. We have no other items other than, particularly, this is a time for opportunity for public comment, again, for non-agenda items that are on us today. So if anyone has, in the public, has a public comment, now is the time, and we'd like you to come forward. Make sure you talk into the microphone and state your name and address, please.
Linda Montgomery from Fairview, South Dakota. I'm going to read partial results of the resolution of the Board of Supervisors, Fairview Township, which was entered into November 15th, 2023. Whereas CO2 sequestration companies intend to embed their carbon dioxide, CO2 captured transport pipelines within Fairview Township, intending to benefit from substantial federal tax credits and direct payments made possible by 26 USC 45Q while serving ethanol production facility customers looking to enhance their own respective ESG bona fides. And whereas the proposition pipelines will not carry a valuable commodity for resale for public benefit, but rather a potentially dangerous byproduct of the distilling process, having inherent value only because the targeted federal tax law. The Board of Supervisors of Fairview Township urgently requests the Board of Commissioners in and for Lincoln County take such further and immediate action by amending county zoning regulations for and within the RC and A-1 districts to the effect that if such pipelines are constructed, placed, and operated, the public at a minimum will be assured of adequate setback distances of at least 1,855 feet for a 6-inch CO2 pipeline, both to and from the parcel line of any and all points of current human occupation and dwelling, and the ownership interest of non-participants. Furthermore, these CO2 pipelines can only be sited and located outside the properties of historical and archaeological significance, or farms designated as Century Farms by the State of South Dakota Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources, and therefore may not be built upon without the express written consent of the landowner, and shall be buried at a depth of 7 feet to accommodate agriculture practices within the county, including but not limited to cultivation practices such as drainage tiling, plowing, decompaction, and potential long-term impacts of solar erosion. The default depth of cultivation on agricultural land within the county is set at 7 feet below grade. Fairview Township Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Morning, everyone. Jason Vanentop, 27745 481st Avenue, Canton. I am here today to represent Dayton Township. I'm a chairman and a supervisor, obviously. We've been working quite some time, and Linda's said it very eloquently. It's high time that we do this. It's been a couple years, and the county commission has been kind of just rolling the ball down the hill, so to say. And basically, we need to protect the people of the county, the landowners, and so with that, Dayton Township is working on an ordinance to present to Lincoln County. We're in the final draft stage, so just wanted to share that with y'all. It mimics what Linda has, the 6-inch pipe, 1855, and the 7-foot depth. So just wanted to share that with you all. Hopefully we can all come to resolution with this at some point, because we need it in our county. It's high time we do it and stand up for the people that have helped build this county and this state. And let's just do the right thing. Thank you.
Jason, I have a question quick for you.
Yeah.
In the township resolutions there, do you guys feel as a township that as the pipeline goes through or underneath your right of way, that you have ultimate authority over that?
Well, Dayton is.
I mean, as you do with anything else?
So a few years ago, we adapted a utility permit, just on account of, with all the growth that we have coming south, right? So yeah, I think we definitely have a stake in the game, because every other time we've had utilities go through, or even Dakota Access, things got really muddy and ugly, right? And things were always promised and under-delivered. So that's why we adopted the utility permit. Matter of fact, our ordinance is gonna have our utility permit encompassed in it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think it's a point we need to discuss more of and
Right.
maybe haven't thought about, so yeah.
And
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, so, any other questions? Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Good morning, Scott Montgomery, Fairview, South Dakota. In the past, the Planning and Zoning Commission passed a recommendation to the Lincoln County Supervisors or Commission to pass an ordinance, which they failed to do. And I hope that this committee can make a recommendation to the Planning and Zoning that will be carried through to the commissioners that will stand behind the residents of this county. Because that's what the Planning and Zoning did. They were looking out for the people of this county, and I certainly hope that this committee will do the same, and the Planning and Zoning will follow through, and the commissioners will follow through. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? With that being said, I guess hearing none and seeing none, I guess that concludes our business for today. Like I said, this is an organizational meeting. It'll probably be one of our shortest ones. So with that being said, I guess is there a motion to adjourn? I have a motion from Tony, the second.
I'll second, Scott.
Call the roll, please.
Adam Wirt,
Non-voting.
Carla Lems,
Here, or, yes.
Marlene
non-voting.
Sweeter,
Yes.
Eric Scott.
Yes.
Anthony Ventura. Mark Dortzy,
Yes.
David Anderson.
Yep.
Joel Aaron's,
Yes.
Jim Gibbon.
Yes. That being said, we're adjourned. Thank you for coming.